All right, hey guys, I want to go over the September 2018 coaching development training with you, with your staff if you're watching this, or if you're just going to be going through this with your staff. Either way is fine. You can just email them this, have everyone review it together, or if you want to make your own, send it out. That's great too. But hopefully, I'm saving you a bunch of time getting ready for this and doing the research on things that I think every coach needs to know from an interactive basis, from a knowledge and science basis, but also from a client interaction basis and what we're doing in our programming to help understand that. So you'll see that some of these things are going to fit what we're doing in our programming. Some things are out there just to challenge you as coaches and to foster some discussion among your staff. I'm not coming here with a place of, you have to learn this, no one knows it. If you don't know it, you're not valid or good. It is really, a lot of it you'll see says discuss, talk about this. And maybe you say, hey, we get it. Here's why we don't like that. Here's why we do this differently. Or maybe it'll be the opposite. You go, here's why we do it. We never knew it. Now we know why we love it. Or, yeah, right on, this is what we're doing. So without further ado, there's 4 parts here. The first one's going to be leadership and interaction. We'll always have a focus on that every month. A part on assessment or warm-up protocols, section on movement and exercise selection, and this will be something that flows in with usually movements that are going to be coming up in coming months in our programming, help people get ready for it. And then finally, training protocols and energy system understanding. This month will be the strength speed continuum. So starting at the top, it's a video about 10 minutes long from Dr. Robert Cialdini, who, if you haven't read Influence, you have to read Influence. And if you haven't read Persuasion, then read Influence and then go read Persuasion. He's a famous social psychologist who my dad turned me on. My dad's a clinical psychologist, turned me on to this guy a long time ago. He worked with my dad's colleague, who's the head of the department at Fresno State, where my dad's a professor, Bob Levine, and Robert Cialdini had done a bunch of work together on this stuff. So watch your toes. I am name dropping. But what this is about how do we help set up, really, from a coaching perspective, how do we help frame things that people need to do in the right way so they can understand it in ways that they will do what is good for them. Now, that's kind of a long explanation, but the idea is we have things that we know our members need to do. They may be adverse to doing them. We can't force anyone to do anything. We have to have them to want to do it because they see it as a bigger benefit to them than not doing it. That's what I want ultimately. I want it to come from them. The more you can have your clients, like, yes, I get why we do this. I get why I am doing the fitness training. I get why I'm doing high time under tension, and not having to explain it every day, the more you can accomplish, right? So how do we do that? Well, you can tell someone, drop the weight off the bar, do it like this, and you're right. That kind of, now we have to explain it after the fact. Or the persuasion parts come in of how do we set up our explanations and interactions for our people. Now, this can be done in good ways and bad ways. It can be very manipulative and come off crappy, and you probably know people that have done this with poor motives and people that do it for really good ways. So that's the group discussion. What areas as a group are you all really good in this area? And critically, what areas can you guys individually and as a group improve on? And then what are the principles that can be used for negative influence and maybe not in your members' best interest, because we always want to move away from that and be doing things that's always right for them. Even if we know, let's say we know more about training than they do, we still have to get them to want to do it. Not, this isn't, they're not being held captive here, right? They're here because they want to be, and they're choosing for this to be the best time of their day. So that's the idea there. Hopefully you enjoy the video as much as I do. The second part here is on assessment and warm-up protocols. It's from John Welborn and Power Athlete HQ. Love those guys. And it's different thoughts on dynamic warm-ups, skill prep and warm-ups, getting your brain ready for the activity that's about to happen. Right? If we're doing aerobic work, well, then having a warm-up that is designed to help get our aerobic system activated and maybe actually even dampen us, right, may be more efficient than a highly excitable warm-up, where if we're snatching, we may want to get our CNS lit up. There's a day where we're doing Jackie during this month, and we actually clean and jerk a little first, not for a heavy load, but I want to get people sparked up just a little bit. And that's not an Advocare play there. So no downline here. That's a old joke. But we want to get people hyped up a little bit, not too much, because that still is aerobic power, but it's a benchmark, so I want them not kind of just grinding through like a normal day. So look at those, and I want you to think of what drills are appropriate for the skills you're going to do in the training, what movements are appropriate, and stimulus and stimuli are appropriate for warm-ups and general warm-ups. So the 3 parts we kind of have broken down on the time blocks. How does that work for you? Next up is movement and exercise selection, and is one of my favorite movements that is difficult to do in a group, and it's the Jefferson curl. So a lot of gyms stay away from that. It's hard to program from a group perspective just because it is more difficult in the loading and progression, but nonetheless, I think it's a good one to learn and to understand how it's used, who it can be used for. And there's 2 videos here. The first one is just an instructional from Gymnastic Bodies. If you haven't read a lot of Coach Summers' work, he's absolutely world class, and I can't say enough good things about some of the things he's done. And then the other one is a video, actually, I believe him and Tim Ferriss from 4 Hour Body and Work Week in the podcast. They're going over how they trained it and his progression in that. So go over the skill progression, go over it with each other, train it for about 10-15 minutes and see how it works and what feedback you have on your coaching cues. And then I want you to discuss, who is this appropriate for? What loads and rep ranges would you actually prescribe for each movement or for each person, or for a warm-up, or for a cool-down, or for a corrective? Right? So think critically on that, and maybe it's something that you can start putting in warm-ups or cool-downs, or maybe you say, hey, we know how to do it, not what we're looking for here, but still you know how it works, and you're all challenging each other there. The final part, which is a big one here, is understanding the strength-speed continuum and the strength-speed-endurance continuum. Right, so strength-speed continuum is one we use in our training a lot. A lot of our stuff, when you see this, hopefully you already get it, but it goes absolute strength, strength, speed, speed, strength, and absolute speed. And that would be heavy deadlift, slow, long contractions. Deadlift, pull it up. Most of what you're going to do, you can pull it. That's me doing the Castro shaken deadlift. Right, we all know the video. There, I get the most weight, but it's slow relative to faster movement. Strength speed, which is your Ollie lifts, you can't pull off the ground like that, but it's going to be your next heaviest set. Speed strength, which would be like weights in Metcons for, say, power cleans with good turnover, stuff that you probably see in your lactic endurance conditioning or lactic power conditioning. And then absolute speed, self-loaded, super fast as you can go. How do we help move people through moving faster, moving them backwards through getting stronger? What are our bases of support in this? And then the strength, speed, endurance continuum. So this is different, right? For endurance and the rep ranges we want to use for conditioning of this before we even put it into conditioning for your classes and for pieces, to know the rep ranges that are appropriate and the loading ranges that are appropriate. So I've made 2 videos, broken them all down for you on how I see that. I'd like you to look at it and discuss. And really the big question is, what areas do you see generally limit people in different stages of development? So if you're trying to get someone better on Ollie lifting, what is the issues that may limit them, both from a strength position, is it from speed? What is the part they need more of, and discuss that. There's no right or wrong, but discuss what is best for them there. What about for endurance? If someone's trying to get better at self-loaded endurance work, what are the issues? And for absolute speed endurance, what are the issues that are coming up for them? What are their limiters? And what areas of training might they want to get better on, right? No right or wrong. This is just for you guys to discuss and go through the questions here. And how does each type of the strength speed continuum affect gains? It's all about dim gains. How does it affect conditioning from the endurance continuum? How does the limit of your absolute strength affect the limits of your strength's endurance and your conditioning? So a lot of things we can get into here, and there's even a support article. So that is the coach training for September. 2 ways I think you can do this. One would be just all in one session, probably takes about an hour, maybe 90 minutes, really dive deep with your coaches. Another one could be, if you're doing this every week, break down one part at a time, spend 30 minutes on this on 1 week, 30 minutes on warm-ups another week, and that'd be maybe if you're having more regular staff trainings would be appropriate. So that's just up to you how you want to do this, or even just email your coaches and say, hey, read this, let's talk about it informally over a cup of coffee or a beer, right? You know how it works. So that's September's training. Hope your coaches are doing awesome. And if your coach is watching this, I hope you're doing awesome. And we're going to have a great month with a lot of PRs for our testing cycle. And I'll talk to you very soon. Thanks.